Before we start this video, I need you to reflect on something. Have you ever noticed that people who experience intense pleasure and joy often fall into deep depression shortly after? Why do you think that happens? Or why is it that the guy who got lucky and won the lottery ends up broke and more miserable than ever 5 years later? Or how come relationships that start with overwhelming passion often end with the same level of hatred and resentment? For a long time, I didn't understand these ups and downs either. I used to see life as a random series of highs and lows, where some people just got luckier than others. Until I discovered an ancient philosophy that completely changed the way I see the world, and more importantly, the way I live my life. I'm talking about Hermeticism, a philosophical system over 5,000 years old, attributed to Hermes Trismegistus. It contains 7 fundamental principles that govern all of existence. And today, I'm going to talk about 2 of those principles that, when truly understood and applied, can profoundly transform your life. The principle of rhythm and the principle of cause and effect. You've probably heard the saying, "What goes up must come down." That's a simple way to describe the principle of rhythm. According to the Kybalion, everything flows in and out, everything has its tides, all things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. This means that absolutely everything in the universe is subject to cycles. Day and night, summer and winter, life and death, joy and sorrow, creation and destruction. And when I say everything, I'm also talking about your thoughts, your emotions, and your mental states. If you've ever had a day where you woke up full of energy and excitement, only to feel drained and unmotivated a few hours later, then you've experienced the principle of rhythm in action. But here's the crucial point I need you to understand today. And once you truly get this, you'll think twice before taking any action without first considering its consequences. When your pleasure depends on someone else's pain and suffering, that pleasure already contains the seed of your future pain. And why is that? Because the principle of cause and effect cannot be undone. According to Hermeticism, it's impossible. The principle of cause and effect states, every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause, everything happens according to law, chance is just a name for a law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. In simple terms, everything you do generates a corresponding reaction. Every thought you nurture has consequences. Nothing goes unaccounted for under the principles of the Kybalion. There is no coincidence. There is no luck. There is only cause and effect. Let me give you a practical example. When you take joy in someone else's misfortune, you're creating a cause whose effect will be to experience similar misfortune in the future. When you manipulate someone for pleasure or personal gain, you're planting the seed of your own future manipulation. Maybe you won't be manipulated by other people, but by your own addictions, your poorly managed desires, and that will be the effect of choices you made long ago. It's mathematical. It's inevitable. It's law. Now think with me. If you work in harmony with nature, aligned with universal principles, what happens? Nature supports your project. Doors open. The path becomes smoother. This has nothing to do with vague mysticism. It's quantum physics. It's biology. It's psychology. It's Hermeticism. According to the principle of vibration, another Hermetic law, everything in the universe is constantly in motion. Nothing is truly at rest. That means you're influencing and being influenced all the time. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions emit vibrations that affect everything around you. And those vibrations come back to you through the principle of rhythm and the principle of cause and effect. That's why negative people attract negative experiences. That's why toxic environments breed more toxicity. You're constantly decoding these vibrations in the form of thoughts and emotions, even if you don't realize it. The real question is, are you conscious of this process, or are you being dragged along by it? Let me tell you something, my friend. You're either in the front seat, driving your life, or you're blindfolded in the back, being dragged around by your circumstances. There's no in-between. Most people live like puppets in the hands of circumstance. They lack self-mastery. They don't care to understand their own lives, and because of that, they stay stuck in an endless loop of unfavorable cause and effect. It's comfortable to stay part of the crowd. There's a hidden longing behind it all. The need to belong often makes us give up our individuality and personal power. But the price we pay for that comfort is incredibly high. And I'm going to say something that might sound harsh, but it's the truth. Modern society doesn't just tolerate our flaws and excesses, it encourages them. Governments want you to stay in the crowd, so they feed you distractions to keep you emotionally numb and exactly where you are, stuck, without evolving an inch. Phrases like, "You deserve to indulge yourself," "Enjoy the moment," "Live in the now," "Consume more." These are mantras we hear all the time, but very few people stop to think about what comes afterward. And what comes after is the pendulum's backswing. According to the principle of rhythm, there's a proportional flow and return between the two poles of the same nature. That means the more intense the pleasure, the more intense the pain will be when the pendulum swings to the opposite side. Extreme swings are rare, but the small ones become pathological over time if we don't set proper limits. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine someone with what's often called explosive energy. They're at the far end of the spectrum when it comes to motivation and drive. On a certain day, they get everything done, full of excitement and overflowing with energy. But the very next day, they give in to extreme laziness, the exact opposite of what they felt the day before. Now, one day of rest after intense work is healthy and necessary. But when that laziness becomes a habit, a way of avoiding responsibility, it grows and morphs into chronic procrastination. Over time, that procrastination starts affecting every area of life: work, relationships, health. What started as a well-deserved break turns into depression, anxiety, and a deep sense of emptiness. People like this become completely at the mercy of life's pendulum swings because they lack one essential thing. Something absolutely necessary for anyone who wants to navigate this law in a healthy way. But not all is lost, and here's the good news. There is a way to escape these mental oscillations. And that tool is your will. Hermeticism teaches that we can transcend the swings of the pendulum through the conscious use of our will. We can fix our awareness at a chosen point and refuse to let it be dragged back down to a lower state. But what is true will, really? It's not just wanting something. It's a firm decision on the mental plane, combined with perseverance and consistency on the physical plane. When you anchor your awareness in higher values, the pendulum begins to swing at that level. This means your low moments won't be as low as they used to be, and your highs will become more sustainable and harmonious. This is possible through conscious identification with the level you want to live at. When you decide, "This is the level of consciousness I choose to live in," and you stick to that decision even when everything seems to go against you, something magical happens. The universe responds to your will. Otherwise, if you stay stuck in the extremes, you'll end up paying the price of excess. Those with excessive passions will face rejection of equal intensity when the pendulum swings the other way. This isn't divine punishment. It's simply the natural law at work. These excesses drain what we can call your life energy, wasting it unnecessarily. Usually, unchecked joy and euphoria create the causes, and future suffering is the consequence of those causes, depending on how the pleasure was experienced. This doesn't mean you shouldn't feel joy or seek pleasure. It means you should do so consciously, without harming yourself or others. I've said this before, but let me make it crystal clear. Pleasure that comes at the cost of someone else's suffering will always come back to you as your own suffering. It's mathematical. It's inevitable. So, how can we elevate our level of consciousness and apply these Hermetic principles in practice? I've laid out 5 steps to give you a starting point so you can manage your own life more effectively. Step 1. Observe your emotional oscillation patterns. In what situations do you swing from extreme joy to deep sadness? Step 2. Identify whether your pleasures are currently causing harm to someone, or could cause pain in the future, including to yourself. Step 3. Practice moderation. Seek pleasure, but do so consciously and with balance. Step 4. Use your will to anchor your awareness at a higher level. When you feel yourself slipping downward, affirm to yourself, I choose not to go any lower than this point. Step 5. Act in harmony with nature. Ask yourself, is this action aligned with universal laws, or does it go against them? Remember, most of humanity is just a puppet in the hands of circumstance. They lack self-mastery. They have no interest in understanding their own lives. You don't have to be like that. The choice is yours. I understand that everything I've said so far may seem complex, but it all comes down to a simple choice. Do you want to be the pilot or the passenger of your life? Do you want to live consciously or just react unconsciously? Do you want to ascend the scale of conscious evolution or keep oscillating in the same patterns? Hermeticism isn't just some ancient philosophy. It's a practical system for living a more conscious and powerful life. When we understand and apply the principles of rhythm and cause and effect, we're no longer victims of circumstance. We become the creators of our reality. My friends, as the Kybalion says, the lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. If you've made it this far, it means you're at least willing to understand and learn more about the Hermetic principles that govern your life. You can count on me to help you. And just before we wrap up, let me remind you of this. When your pleasure depends on someone else's pain, you've already planted the seed of your own future suffering. Nature supports those who work in harmony with it. Your will is the key to transcending the pendulum swings. You are constantly influencing and being influenced by the vibrations around you. And the choice to be the pilot or the passenger of your life belongs solely to you. This is just the beginning of your journey into conscious evolution through the practical application of Hermeticism. In the next videos, I'll go deeper into other principles and how they can transform your life in ways you can't even imagine. If you enjoyed this content, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. I'm Noah, and this was my contribution to you today. See you in the next video.